Well, here I am with Michael Malone, my old friend,
Hi, Peter.
and we're sitting here in Centennial Park actually, which is a lovely day to be talking about something which has got very little to do with nature, at least as we've experienced it, and that of course is the history of the internet. And of course we've got the big event coming up on the 31st of October, and the URL will be at the bottom of this video, and you'll see where you can go to register and get some information. But I wanted to talk to you, Michael, about, we put you on a panel, and we do want to talk a little bit about what your reminiscences were, what your high points were, anything that surprised you in the last 20, 25, 30 years that you've been involved.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on the journey? How's it been for you?
It's been obviously very exciting, lots of change. I mean, the internet only connected 30 years ago, 1989, into UWA where I was at the time.
Yeah.
IONET set up in 1993. I guess the big difference, I suppose, between now and then, back then it really was a very niche thing. We had to use Linux, and so everyone needed to know their way around Unix to be able to sort of know what to do. So the black screen.
Yeah.
And it was very much a niche. I mean, the miracle I think has been that it's become mainstream, that this is access to everyone. Now it's basic infrastructure.
Right. The democratization.
Yeah.
Well, that's the word I use, but mainstream is good. I think when I started from the AAA in '97, we had 11% of the population online.
Wow.
And now we're over 90%, and
Yes.
most of them are on broadband. So, and of course you're on the board of NBN Co. So you've been part of the whole journey, from starting IONET as an ISP in your mum's garage, all the way through to sitting on the board of what is Australia's greatest ever infrastructure investment. That must be pretty
Snowy.
Since the snow.
But
I think in dollar and per capita terms, I think we overtook the Snowy Mountains.
I think we all sort of that internet years, so there's 10 internet years for every annual year, like dog years. And I think that there's a feeling of that. Things change so fast. Where else would you want to be? If once you've got that, if you're a bit of a change junkie, if you enjoy the pace, it's hard to leave the sector.
It is, isn't it? It's addictive to see what the next innovation's going to be.
Yeah.
And of course, remember when email was the killer app in the early days?
Yeah.
And
and Usenet for discussion groups.
Usenet,
Yes.
and then video came along, and of course that created a huge demand for bandwidth. What do you think's next in the line? What's going to be consuming all the bandwidth in the next 10, 20 years?
The trend has always just been more data, so that points to more video. But I guess the interesting thing is this IoT, which is a bit naff, I suppose, in what's it going to be. At the moment, I've got I can turn on my lights, so I can turn on the bedroom lights, I can turn on the kettle at home, using Alexa. So that's I think it's all a bit toys at the moment, but what's it going to move out into areas like agriculture, mining, logistics? That from a network point of view is a different trend, because at the moment it's more data, so simply larger window sizes, but not a massive increase in number of packets, not trending number of packets. Whereas IoT could see an explosion in the simple amount of data, not just the volume of data.
So when that's right. So when everything's connected, almost literally everything, then it's not the volume per transaction, but it's the aggregate effect.
The number of transactions, the network effect.
Right.
Yeah, which I think could see things move in quite a different direction at a network level, which what we've always been interested in. But hence, getting involved in something like NBN, Superloop. I'm sitting on the other side of the table at 7 West as well, which is fascinating to see. Content is still king.
Right.
We know we'll be consuming lots of content in the future.
Right.
I've had my 3 big trends, which have I think always been the same, which is speeds are going to get faster. Every step jump in the internet has always been driven by one-to-one communications, whether that was in email, discussion groups, music eventually, BitTorrent, caused an explosion in volume now into things like sharing of content, Netflix and the like. So it's consumers that drive the trends up. And disintermediation in business. If you're part of a long value chain and you're in the middle of that value chain, then your business is at threat as consumers are connecting directly to businesses.
Which is a very nice segue to the question that you knew was coming, and that was the big copyright question and the big battle that you fought, really on behalf of the industry, of the sector. And you knew, as we did back then, that in the long term it was always going to be about collaboration. is what we really wanted to see with the rights holders and the ISPs.
And hasn't that played out as expected, as it did for music?
Well, and it had to, but I mean, at the time, I think it was when the litigation started to really heat up. We're talking, what, 2008, was it?
Yep.
2000, yeah. And went all the way to the High Court. And you were the target, your company, but it could have been anybody. It just happened to be.
Well, it was Aussie Mail with the music industry.
Right. We actually negotiated the settlement. It was $1 per subscriber per year, and I remember IONET was a signatory to that settlement agreement. So yeah, it had been coming for a long time. But the interesting thing was when video came along, and I remember meeting with the head of the MPAA, Bob Pisano, who came out from Los Angeles to Canberra to lobby our politicians around further regulation to prevent file sharing. And he, at the time, I met him in a cafe in Canberra, and he wasn't aware that we had data caps on our broadband plans. And they just naturally assumed that Australia was going to follow the lead of America, and there was going to be uncapped plans and people were going to be sucking all this unlicensed content. And when I told him that the cost of actually pirating a DVD would be like $35 based on what our current excess usage charges were, I think he really did a double take. He didn't realise that we were actually a different market to the US.
Australia has the oldest Copyright Act in the world, as we know, which made it and established with things like the University of New South Wales case in the 70s.
Right.
It actually had it was a soft target. Australia. So this wasn't about IONET, this was about Australia. If they could win in Australia, then they would take that to New Zealand, South Africa, the UK, the other Commonwealth countries, and that becomes very persuasive into continental Europe and the US.
Yep.
So Australia was chosen very
We were a test
deliberately.
case, yeah, exactly. And I remember the other thing was that after that decision was handed down in the federal court, at the first instance,
Which you were there.
I was there, and I walked out of the court building, and there were like 30 cameras, and then you were behind me. You weren't far behind, but I remember saying at the time, I said, there was no hubris around the outcome. It was more, this is an opportunity for us to pause now and to revisit the question of how we can integrate content and carriage into a win-win kind of proposal.
Remember that for the copyright holders, they had an objective, which was to get a case law that would prohibit this. Our objective was to not get sued. It's a different thing. We didn't want to be there. We didn't want this going to appeal. We wanted to have an agreed arrangement which would, see content becoming legally available to customers.
Exactly.
That was the real objective.
That was the objective.
Yeah.
So I think eventually the market moved, and the litigation is behind us now, although there is still the regulation there, and potentially, the scope is there for...
There was still the Dallas Buyers Club,
Exactly.
which still, never completed, but eventually still showed that the copyright owners could still go after end users.
And they've got the law now to do it, and of course they've got the free trade agreement amendments, which I think didn't really suit our interests as a sovereign nation. But one of the things we were sad about was that we didn't get a lot of the fair use provisions come across as well. So we got a lot of the restrictions of the American copyright regime, but we didn't get the liberalisations. And I know for a fact that there's still a lot of intermediaries that are not within the safe harbour that would still wish to see the sort of fair use, balanced, proportional approach of the US law imported into our law as well. So I guess that's a case for just a little bit more activism, and maybe there'll be more litigation it will take for that to change.
But we don't have an industry association any longer.
No, but we have a gala dinner.
Yes.
Are you excited about the event?
I am looking forward to it. I mean, we don't. It's been. I remember the dinner when the IIA finished, and it was pretty sad.
It was sad.
It was also a chance to sit down there and reminisce about the old times.
It was. Well, we're going to do it again on the 31st of October. So thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Peter.
So great to have you supporting this, and thank you everyone for watching. So 30igala.com.au on the 31st of October, and we'll see you there.